All right, this is Becoming Old Hat. Lee Jacobs, Carolyn Gilbert, Mike O'Connor, programming and research veterans, counting down the top 10 research mistakes that we see radio stations make. And so we're up to finding number 7. This is all about music, song selection mistakes for research. Not testing stuff too early.
Generally speaking, we see things come in at 60, 70, 80% unfamiliar, and there's just no way to get an accurate read on that. The station, nobody in the market's playing it, and we're going to talk about, exposure. It hasn't been heard. The record guy just dropped it off a week ago. You've given it a few overnight spins, and there you have it. Unfamiliar. Why waste a call-out slot on that?
Yeah, and sometimes you can pound the living dog snot out of it for 3 weeks, put it into research, and you get nothing. And really, the only benefit is because the record guy'd like to use your quote in the trades about how well it's testing to get the lemming factor going, but that doesn't help your ratings.
Right.
Whole different business. And then on the flip side of testing songs too soon, there's I guess it's the matter of being sensitive to where songs can come from these days. And it feels funny to say after talking about not testing them too soon, but there are songs that creep up because radio isn't necessarily the only game in town. In fact, it positively isn't the only game in town. People find songs all over the place. I mean, running up that hill, Kate Bush became relevant because of a TV show.
That's right.
Video games spawn songs all over the place.
The Last of Us on HBO, for example.
Yep. Drew heavily from that and reinforced that into people's consciousness, and it becomes something that might have the degree of familiarity where it merits radio airplay, because in radio you're trying to get one single playlist to serve the interests and the tastes of thousands of people. It's not an easy thing to do, and programmers who do it well are brilliant people, but it's a matter of finding that thing that's just out there for everybody, that everybody is interested, or a lot of people, enough people are interested.
One of you should tell the Yellowstone story where you had a conversation with a programmer who insisted on neither testing nor playing that big song from that TV show that I've yet to watch.
Well, when we did the CRS study, the songs came up as just incredible hits, and some of the program directors were going, "Why
we never
that?
played those. Yeah, we're not playing that.
We're not and well, you're not the only game in town."
Yep.
Right. And, in fact, we asked the sample in the study that we'd done for CRS, if they find songs, from sources other than radio. And a lot of people will tell you they hear songs that they eventually, want to hear all the time that they hear in a TV show. And with a country audience, when you say, "And what TV show is that?" the number one answer was Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Just that factor. So songs can come from all over the place, but just because the record promoter, music promoter says that, this is getting a lot of spins or a lot of interest or it's going to be big, well, that's their job. Their job is to get radio airplay. Your job is completely different.
Right.
We bring this up because, Carolyn, I'll give you the floor in a minute. The fact is that our research bandwidth is precious inventory, right? Yeah, especially because companies are cutting back and they're trying to do more with less. And so every time you make a decision that really kind of belies logic, it's an opportunity cost.
Absolutely. And my point was only going to be, this isn't only true for call out wasting the slots. It's true for OMTs too, where you should be testing Yellowstone,
Right.
Example, point and point. That's you've got to think about the world when you're building your OMT list as well.
One of the things that you guys have mentioned repeatedly, especially with for example, the mini Perceptual we offer, the ASAP study, or the OMT Lite, where we have a limited number of slots that we can test for a very reasonable price.
Right.
But you have to always think in terms of what's the actionable outcome as the result of the research. So if you're testing a song that you have no business play, or you just would never play, why put it in there?
Right. Right. I mean, I remember years ago, a brilliant programmer in AC wasted the slot, but just wanted to see what would happen if he tested Stairway to Heaven.
And I'm assuming it was not a classic rock PD. Yeah, it was always AC, you said. Yeah.
It was AC. It was
Yeah.
At that point, kind of on the softer end of the spectrum, and Stairway tested top 25.
You know, I've been out of radio for a while. Do they do 9 minute and 30-second songs at AC these days?
Well, on top of that, there's cluster analysis available to help you with that.
So you can test the fringes, right? So we're definitely not selling against trying to expand out to grab more cume on an offensive front or to defend against an incursion competitor.
Right.
Absolutely. And, we offer cluster analysis as an add-on to our OMTs at no extra charge because it doesn't cost us anything to run it through a Euclidean distance program. So we offer it. And what it does is it actually segments your audience into this sort of spherical thing where we watch and see where there's agreement on songs so that it helps you with the flow as well.
Yep.
This cluster of people loves this kind of music. You find artists clustering together, you find tempo clustering together, and you find outliers where you go, no, I can never play that song.
Yeah, Lee, we sound code for mood, for various instruments that dominate a song. We sound code for tempo,
all
era.
manner of things. And it's always in service of one thing.
Yep.
That listener may put up with one song that she doesn't really enjoy, but you got to come back with one that she loves.
Yep. So you probably have a core constituency that you need to super serve with at least half of the inventory in any clock hour. And then you can experiment and go places, but come back to the center. And that's how cluster analysis would.
Right. And so I've talked about it for years as we're just moving the dislikes around.
Yeah.
We're ultimately going to play incredibly popular songs where, 50% plus, either love or really like the song. Okay, so I'll ride with you for one song that's meh, but you better come back right after that with, oh yeah. Well,
I always love the conversation about a party where they're passing hors d'oeuvres. And, if you're at a cocktail party, everybody's hungry, they're drinking, and, the little hot dogs come by and you're a vegetarian. So the next thing better be a little gazpacho to drink or something.
Right.
So Carolyn, what do we charge for? What do we charge for cluster analysis on our music? I'm assuming we do this on OMTs, meaning our auditorium test replacement library catalog.
As I said, exactly what we pay for it.
Oh, added value.
Yep.
Added value.
So there's one other thing that I think is worth bringing up, although we're not big proponents of rolling research because of the idea of recycling old sample and old research scores into current research. We hate that. But I will say one thing that I remember experiencing a lot as a programmer, and that is burn scores, especially as airplay starts to really penetrate and songs become multi-format and uber familiar, that burn score can fluctuate quite a bit. And I think one of the mistakes that I used to see as sort of the in-house snitch, we called it a brand manager, is programmers would, once something tested burned out of A, their every 3-hour category or what have you, they'd move it to recurrent, never test it again. And the mistake I see there is that then they'd graduate currents to try to fill the slot that just didn't earn it, that had low familiarity scores or low fave scores. Sometimes those recurrents can stay in power for a year, even if you do platoon them in and out. And so
you can have situations where a song will burn, and legitimately, you've got a panel of respondents who, a significant number had heard the song too often. It's like, eh. But if you test it the next cycle, things correct because your competitor, may say, oh my God, it's gone. In which case there's less airplay, the burn starts to ease up, and, enough people still love that song.
Discrete samples are really good because they're timely, but there can be wobbles, especially when there's a variable that's kind of new. As a song gets more familiar, that unfamiliar score can waver, and so can the burn score.
Sure. And in analysts that we use to display songs for programmers, you can go in their trend ranker, and you want to average 2 cycles together, to try to, I had no burn last time, I got significant burn this time. What do I want to do with it? Do I want to graduate it, or maybe I want to pull it down for a cycle? But that can help you make that kind of a decision.
And I think that's research selection mistakes, finding number 7 in our countdown. We have 3 other videos available, findings 10, 9, and 8, available at newvoodoo.com/webinars. And we'll be back in another week with another version of the top 10 radio research mistakes.
New Voodoo builds digital products and conducts research and marketing campaigns for clients.
It's easy to get in touch. Drop us a line at tellmemore@newvoodoo.com.